Oh, Nana, I have to come to your house. It's a given. You have to feed me all your delicious treats. Hello, Shirley. Let's do the sound check. How's the music? How's it over there? Hello, Rhonda. Just Bethany, this is the continuance of Blood in the Snow. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Welcome in to Twisted Tales Live. Hello, Siamese. It's a little loud. How about now? Sounds good. Welcome to Twisted Tales Live. I am your host, Bryn Morgan. I am a horror author, and I am also a teller of every kind of scary story you can imagine. But tonight is Thursday night, and Thursday night holds a special place. Why? Because it's vampire night, of course. It gets its own night. Welcome in. This is a safe, warm, loving, welcoming family that we have strived to build, and we welcome you. For the next couple of hours-ish, I want you to come in and just let everything go, every care of the day, and just listen to a story. Oh, Mary Catherine is in my way. No matter, we will proceed. We have a way of how we go into story time here. But first, who is new? I have a question for you. Do you like scary stories? Let's go into story time the way we do every night. Lower your lights. Lock your doors. Light that candle. Pull your curtains nice and tight. Wrap yourself in your warmest blanket to avoid the chills that are about to crawl up your spine. And let's begin. Let me know in the comments. I'm ready. Kalitza Drathmore's chamber was a study in contrast. Warm firelight battling the icy bleed of crimson moon through the tall arched windows. The walls flickered between red and gold as the flames licked the hearth, spilling light over velvet gowns draped neatly across the bed, and jewels set out with surgical precision on the vanity. Everything was placed just so. No item out of order, no wrinkle in the silks. Her room reflected her mind, measured, exacting, controlled. The storm whispered relentlessly against the glass. She could hear it in every corner. The hiss of snow striking stone, the moan of wind curling through the castle's high battlements, the faint creak of shutters in distant corridors. The air smelled faintly of iron and smoke, with an undertone of lavender oil she herself had chosen, not because she found it calming, but because it masked any hint of nerves. Kalitza allowed no scent of fear to cling to her skin. She sat at her mirror, her pale hand gliding the brush through her midnight hair. Each stroke was precise, her emerald green eyes fixed upon her own reflection, eyes that revealed nothing. Not satisfaction, not fear, not desire, only calculation. A woman carved on marble, flawless and unyielding. And yet, in the deep chambers of her mind, she savored the memory of the throne room earlier that day. Lilibet, dragged forward in chains, her once grand bearing torn away, piece by piece, the whip scars still fresh. She could still smell her blood. Her gown ripped, her wrist bound, and then the final humiliation. Kalitza was surprised at what Ella had done. She cast Lilibet out, stripped of her name, given like chattel to Vladimir Deltraven, the proud serpent, Blackstone daughter, spat out into the snow. Kalitza allowed herself the faintest smile, sharp and cold, a lesson painted for all to see. That is what happens when you play your hand too early. Lilibet wasn't that smart after all. Lilibet thought herself untouchable, and now she was nothing. Kalitza set the brush down slowly, the wood making a soft click on the vanity. Rising, her gown rustled about her ankles like a whisper as she glided to the window. Where was Lilibet now? No doubt, close to arriving at her hovel of a home just outside the outskirts of the kingdom. She pressed her hand against the frozen glass and breathed on it. Ooh, it was a cold night. What a night to be thrown out. The cold stabbed through her palm, sharp and bracing, but her expression remained still as stone. If Ella can strip Seraphina's own daughter of her crest, and Ian of his sister, What chance would she stand if she drew too much attention? The thought lingered, but it did not frighten her. Fear was wasteful. Instead, she turned it over like a coin, weighing its use. Her emerald eyes narrowed slightly, her reflection staring back faintly in the darkened glass because of the power of a witch that ran through her veins. She whispered, "No, I will not be reckless. I will not play the fool. I will not be Lilibet. I will play the long game with you, Ella. I will bow when you command, smile when you glance my way, and I will let you believe that I am loyal, harmless, unforgettable. That is how one survives, Ella Snow, and how one strikes." She stepped away from the window, her movements measured. She picked up a goblet from her table, sipping the warmed blood within. It slid hot and metallic across her tongue, copper and salt sharp against her teeth. She relished the steadiness it gave her, the reminder of strength running through her veins. Kalitza moved back to the vanity, lifting a strand of pearls. She held it against her throat, admiring the pale glow of skin against gleaming stone. Perfect, controlled. She tried rubies next, then sapphires, measuring not which suited her most. She knew all of them did, but which would play best at court? Which mask she would wear to her queen? Her emerald eyes, reflected in the mirror, gave away nothing. They glittered like polished stone, cold and hard, betraying no satisfaction or ambition. Only those who knew her deeply, and there were just a couple. Seraphina, Nira. They knew the venom hiding behind her gaze. But to others, she was a lady, humbled by exile and grateful for mercy. But inside, her mind coiled. She imagined it clearly. Ella on her throne, her eyes rimmed with red fire. Ian at her side, storm dark, possessive and watchful. The court, so quick to whisper and sneer. Kalitza pictured them all crumbling one by one beneath her hand when she played her hand. The crest of Blackstone would be hers. The throne would be hers. She whispered it out loud. The crest of Blackstone will be mine. The throne will be mine. Patience, Kalitza. Patience. And then she caught a flicker in her mirror. Quick as lightning. She stilled. She heard ruffling, tapping. She looked high up in the rafters of her room. That sword. What was that? She stilled. In the far corner, high in the shadows, near the very peak of the roof, two faint glimmers. Turquoise. Mina, the owl, perched in darkness, its feathers like shadow, its eyes glowing faintly, unblinking, watching. Kalitsa's emerald eyes did not widen. Her hand did not tremble. There was something about that bird. She placed the jewels back on the vanity slowly, as though she had seen nothing at all. Only her heartbeat shifted, the faintest throb about her against her ribs betraying a momentary spike of ire. What was it about that bird? Something that unsettled her. Nothing unsettled her but it. That cursed bird, always watching, always following, always where she least expected it. She thought to herself as she walked away from the vanity and looked up. It knows. I don't know how, but it knows. Her lips curved into a faint smile at her reflection, hiding the dagger of her thought. Are you up there, little birdie? One day, Mina, one day I will pluck your glowing eyes from your head and will take great pleasure in crushing them beneath my feet. She lowered herself into the chair again, folding her hands in her lap. Her emerald eyes burned back at her in the glass, sharp and unreadable. Yes, she whispered, her voice silk-wrapped still. Patience, obedience, harmlessness. Let them believe I am nothing but another lady in waiting. And when their guard lowers, I will take everything. The fire popped, sending sparks leaping into the air. The storm outside clawed harder at the glass. A ceaseless whisper of snow and wind. A Mina's turquoise glow blinked once. Slow, deliberate, knowing. Kalitsa heard the ruffle of feathers. That's right, little birdie. You can leave now. Before she heard it vanish into the dark. Kalitsa Strathmore did not flinch. She only sat, her mask intact, her emerald eyes steady, cold, calculating, waiting as she gulped down the rest of the blood. The fire in the hearth burned low, casting long shadows against the carved stone walls of the Queen's chamber. The storm beyond raged without pause, snow hissing against the windows, wind sighing through the towers. But within the chamber there was a hushed stillness, the kind that only comes when exhaustion and thought weigh heavy on the soul. Ella lay draped across Ian's chest, her body softened against his warmth, their heartbeats slowing, her cheek pillowed over the steady rise and fall of his breathing. The thick furs cocooned them, locking out the cold, their limbs tangled together in a closeness that was both natural and necessary. For a long time, neither spoke. They simply held on to one another, each lost in the echo of what had transpired in the throne room. It was Ella who finally broke the silence. Her lips brushed the skin over his heart as her voice came soft and low. Was I too harsh? Ian shifted beneath her, one broad hand sliding slowly up her back in a steadying stroke. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pressed a kiss to her hair, inhaling the familiar scent of her, as though drawing strength from her presence before he spoke. No, Ella, you were not harsh. You were just. Her fingers curled lightly against his chest, nails grazing his skin. She tilted her face upward so she could meet his eyes in the muted glow. I cast her out of Blackstone, stripped her of everything. I bound her to a man that she despises. I tore her name from her. Should I have spared her the humiliation of that? Should I have simply just sent her away? His silver dark gaze was steady, his jaw like tightening as he cupped her face. Ella, my love, if you had only banished Lilibet, she would have gone into the shadows. She would have whispered poison to your enemies. She would have waited. I know my sister. She is cold, she is calculating, and she is cruel. She has been since before she was turned. No. No, my love. You ended her power. You showed them all what happens when someone defies their queen. That had to be done. Ella's throat worked as she swallowed. She lowered her gaze, her voice hushed. And yet it felt as though I looked cruel, like I took pleasure in it. Not strong. Do you think me pitiless? Ian shifted, rolling slightly so he could gather her fully against him, her body flushed to his. His lips brushed her dimple, his words as a murmur, but firm. Let them think what they want. Fear is no enemy of a queen. What you gave them was far more than cruelty. You gave them clarity. You drew the line, and they're fools if they cross it again. For a while, she was quiet, her breath feathering against his chest. He could feel the weight of her thoughts pressing between them. Then, almost like a confession, she whispered, I have not even been queen a full year. What if the line blurs, Ian? What if one day I cannot tell justice from cruelty? What if this crown changes me? His hand slid into her pale blonde hair, his grip tightening as he held her face against him. His voice came low, fierce, and unwavering. I will never let that happen. Do you hear me? You are not Aiden. You are not Lilibet. You are Ella Snow, Queen of Blackstone. You are strength and mercy, both. And if the weight becomes too heavy, I will carry it with you. Her breath shivered, tears stinging her blue eyes, though none fell. She tilted her head, brushing her lips across his jaw, then his mouth. The kiss was slow, lingering, threaded with ache of everything they could not put into words. His arms encircled her tightly, one hand splaying over her back, his fingers brushing across the scars, the other fisting gently in her hair as he deepened the kiss. When they parted, Ella's voice trembled with softness. You are my anchor, Ian. Without you, I would surely sink. She let out a shaky sigh. And you, he answered, his forehead pressed to hers, are my queen. my life, my breath, my everything. The fire cracked, the storm moaned outside, but here within the walls of her chamber was warmth and safety. His fingers traced along her shoulder, her arm down to her waist in slow, steady passes. Not seeking passion, that wasn't what she needed. She needed grounding. She needed to be tethered. They lay that way for a long time, the silence between them companionable now, the earlier tension erased. She drifted in and out of thought, her mind circling Lilibet's face, her glare, the sting of her defiance. Yet Ian's heartbeat beneath her, steady as a drum, was a reminder. She was not alone in this crowd, not alone in the night. Finally, Ella whispered again, her words almost lost in the hush. Tell me, do you regret it? That it came to this with her? Ian was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his tone was careful. I have felt a distance from Lilibet for centuries. I regret that she forced your hand. I regret that she spat in your face before the court. But do I regret what you did? No. You are queen, my love, and a queen cannot allow insult without answer. Her eyes closed. She breathed him in, her body rising and falling with his warmth, his strength, his vow. These were what steadied her against the storm. They fell silent again, wrapped in one another. The fire dwindled, the snow pressed harder against the glass, and still they lay together, wrapped in love, wrapped in sorrow, wrapped in the endless night of Blackstone. And though Ella's crown pressed heavy on her spirit, here in her chamber, in the arms of her husband, she could bear it. The firelight in Seraphina's chamber burned steady, but her gaze had drifted far beyond it, past stone and snow, into the corridors of memory. Centuries slipped away in silence, and in her mind's eye she saw again the night that her daughter was born. She took a sip of blood and lay her head back against the chair. Blackstone was different then. Still harsh, still cold, but alive in ways that it no longer was. The halls had echoed with servants' feet. The hearth had burned hotter, and Seraphina had still been mortal, her body trembling with both exhaustion and wonder as she cradled her first and only daughter in her arms. Her husband came into the room. I hear you finally got your girl. Yes. Do you want to see her? She's absolutely beautiful. What did you name her? Lilibet. What is that named after? No matter. Lilibet had been impossibly small when she was born, her skin pale as cream, her hair already dark as ink, and her tiny fists curling with surprising strength. Seraphina had thought her perfect, flawless. When her husband walked over and reached down, he took his middle finger and ran it over Lilibet's lips. She grabbed onto his finger with surprising strength. Well, a strong girl, She remembered weeping as she pressed the infant against her breast, whispering promises into the crown of that soft, powdered head. Promises that she would be loved, protected, and cherished. Her sons, Aiden and Ian, had been strong, fierce, loud with their first breath, but Lilibet had been something else. There had been a hush about her, an aura that had wrapped the midwives and attendants in quiet awe. She was angelic, too beautiful for her first cry, which had come soft, almost petulant, like a protest against the chill of the world she had entered, as if she wanted to be back safe within her mother's womb. Seraphina smiled at the thought. She remembered the way that her husband had looked at their daughter, pride mingled with something darker in his silver eyes as she held his finger tightly. He had then taken Lilibet into his arms, and from that moment forward, she lost Lilibet. Lilibet loved her father. He spoiled her, bought her whatever she wanted, gave her whatever her heart desired. He was already speaking of heirs and alliances before she was even 6 months old, as though her tiny existence was beautiful, but was a pawn in his endless game of power. But to Seraphina, she had been the light in an otherwise merciless marriage. She had watched her daughter sleep and thought, here is my redemption. Here is my heart outside of me. And for a time, Lilibet had seemed every bit the angel that Seraphina believed her to be. She grew quickly, beautiful in ways that drew notice even as a child. Her laughter had been sweet, her face radiant. Yet even then, beneath the silk curls and innocent cheeks, there had been flashes, small storms brewing. She wanted what she wanted, and she wanted it immediately. When denied, her lips would purse, her gray eyes would flash, and she would stamp her small foot upon the stone. At first, Seraphina and her brothers had laughed. What harm was there in a little girl demanding another sweet, another ribbon, another horse, another turn of the wheel in the courtyard? But the temper deepened with age. By the time that she was a maiden of 16, Lilibet's tantrums had grown into manipulations. She could twist servants to her will with a pout, her brothers with the well-placed tear, courtiers with a flutter of lashes, and with her father, a hug, a kiss on the cheek. Seraphina had told herself it was harmless, a girl learning her charms, but deep down she knew it was not mere vanity. It was hunger. Spoiled? Yes, by her father's hand most of all. The Lord of Blackstone had indulged her more than he had ever done his sons. Ian had been forged by his father's steel, Aiden by his father's cruelty. But Lilibet had been praised for her beauty, her cleverness, her cunning. She had been told again and again that she deserved more, that the world itself would bend to her if only she demanded loudly enough. Seraphina's lips thinned as she stared into the fire. Was it him? She wondered. Was it his constant indulgence that made their daughter selfish? Was it his cruelty to her that taught Seraphina to see softness as weakness? Or was it always within Lilibet, even as a babe, smiling at Seraphina with those dark silver eyes that already mirrored his? The transformation into vampirism had only sharpened what was already there. Immortality had not birthed her arrogance. It had merely freed it of consequence. The bratty child had become the venomous vampire, and now that vampire had been broken by the crown. Seraphina pressed a hand to her lips, her eyes narrowing against the sting of memory. She remembered the way little Lilibet's hand had once curled trustingly around her finger. She remembered the way she had sung her daughter to sleep, convinced that love would shield her from the shadows. And she remembered, too, the first time that daughter had looked at her with contempt, with hate, lips curling, voice sharp with scorn. That had been centuries ago, yet the wound had never healed. How did it come to this? How was Lilibet cast out of Blackstone? She had to admit that when Ella made the decree, it shocked her. How did her angel turn to ash in her own soul? The fire snapped, spitting a spark that flared and died. She blinked, her vision returning to the chamber, to the storm pressing against the windows, to the internal snow of Blackstone. Somewhere beyond those walls, right now, that night, Lilibet was cursing her name. Somewhere, Lilibet's fury was building like a storm of its own. And Seraphina knew it had begun long before that night. It had begun the moment she was born into her father's indulgence and a mother's silence. Seraphina closed her eyes, whispering into the empty chamber, "I adored you once, Lilibet. I would have given you the world. But perhaps you were always his child, more than mine." The fire crackled on, the storm howled, and Seraphina sat alone with her memories, mother, widow, immortal, and forever haunted by the daughter she had lost long before exile had ever come. And somewhere out in that snow beneath the crimson moon, Lilibet was being taken to her new home. The corridors of Vladimir's estate were narrow and cold. The torches sputtering against damp walls, shadows pressed thick against the stone. Lilibet's heels clicked sharply against the floor as she was led to her new chamber, the servants bowing low with their heads down, unwilling to meet her gaze. Inside, the room was stifling. Heavy curtains blocked what little light the crimson moon spilled, and the hearth burned with a sharp, resinous wood that filled the air with smoke. Vladimir knelt mockingly to his servants. "Welcome, the new lady of the house." A steaming copper tub had been drawn, its surface shimmering like a mirror. A folded bundle of clothing lay upon the bed, dark silks that shimmered dully, trimmed in fur worn nearly bare. Lilibet walked over to the bed and picked up a dress. Her sharp eyes fell on them instantly, and her breath called with fury. They were not new. They were not hers. The gown was too broad in the shoulders, the sleeves too long. She was delicate, she was tall, the hems dragging. She recognized them for what they were, and it infuriated her. It was another woman's clothes. Another woman's. Vladimir's voice rumbled behind her, deep and smooth as crushed velvet. Would you not say that my first wife had fine taste? Don't you think it would be a shame to let her wardrobe rot away? Lilibet turned, her dark silver eyes flashing, her lips curling. You dare to dress me in another woman's cast-offs? I am Lilibet Blackstone. I do not wear cast-offs. Oh, 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 oh. No. May I remind you that you are not a Blackstone anymore. You are mine. And you will wear what I tell you to wear. He leaned against the door frame, his black hair spilling loose over his shoulders, his smirk cutting like a blade. You have no ties to Blackstone. You can scream as loud as you want. They can't hear you. His fangs protruded. You are mine now, Lilibet. You will wear what I command. You will walk as I command. You will eat what I command, and you will do what I command. Lilibet wanted to strike him, to claw at his face until her nails drew rivers down his skin, but instead she stood rigid, her chin lifted, fury glinting in her gaze. I am no woman's shadow, Vladimir. Vladimir's smirk only deepened. Then prove it. Strip. Bathe. Show me your fire, wife. At his snap of his fingers, two servants entered, thin, pale women with trembling hands. They lowered their heads and began to unlace Lilibet's gown, their touch light but hurried. Lilibet snarled and shoved them away, tearing at the laces herself. Do not touch me! The gown slid from her shoulders, pulling at her feet, leaving her standing in nothing but her jimmy. The firelight gilded her pale skin, shadows hugging every curve. She could feel Vladimir's gaze on her, heavy, hungry, and possessive. She lifted her chin defiantly. Enjoying the show? Vladimir pulled over a chair and sat down, crossed his legs. Every moment, he murmured, his presence filling the chamber. She spat at his feet, her chest heaving. You may have been given permission to have me from the Queen, but let me assure you that you will never have me. His smirk curved again, sharp and cruel. We shall see before the night is over. Now bathe. He let his eyes linger, slowly, deliberately, from her graceful neck to her breast, down to the line of her small waist, pausing where the shimmy clung damp against her hips. Cut the act, Lilibet. I know you're no virgin, he murmured. He rose from his chair and began circling her like a predator. You had your share of men in Blackstone Castle. I expect you to perform for me as you did for them. His words were velvet knives meant to cut. Every sound, every gasp. Don't think I won't know if you're holding back. I don't know what you're talking about. No? Lord Cassian? He was bragging in the courtyard that he had you every night, Lilibet Blackstone. Try again. Lilibet felt a sting, Cassian? Cassian had been saying these things about her? Her hands clenched into fists, nails biting her palms, but she refused to look away. She slipped into the tub with deliberate grace, the water lapping high against her chest, steam curling inward. The heat seared her skin, but she held her back straight, her face carefully neutral. Let him think what he wanted. She didn't care. The two trembling servants poured scented oils over her shoulders, smoothing them into her skin with cautious hands. And still, Vladimir watched. He sat, one boot braced against the stone, his gaze unflinching as rivulets slid over her collarbones, beaded at the tips of her breast disappeared beneath the water. Yes, he drawled softly, his voice curling around the steam. This is how I like my wives to be. Obedient, bared, ready to please. You'll learn your place tonight. When at last she rose from the bath, water dripping down her body, she snatched the towel from the servants and wrapped it tightly around herself. Her wet hair clung in dark tendrils to her face and neck. She looked at the bundle of gowns lying on the bed and said, I am Lilibet Blackstone. You will not touch my body. And if you do, you will not have your eyes by the morning. Her fangs protruded. Try me, Vladimir. Vladimir's hand shot out, seizing her chin in a punishing grip. He forced her head up until their eyes met. You have a lot to learn, Lilibet. Her gaze was defiant, her posture stiff. The consummation was no gentle act of love. It was a battle. She fought him with every claw, every bite, every ounce of fury. But he matched her in force, rough and unyielding, each movement a declaration of control. Eventually, it changed, though. Lilibet was passionate. Lilibet was full of desire. And even though she despised this man, he was serving her need. Their breasts tangled in growls and moans, the bed creaking, the air thick with the scent of sweat and blood that was drawn. She was consummating, but she refused to break. Every time he pressed her down, she pushed back, her teeth at his skin, biting him. He laughed, her body defiant even as he claimed it. Her pride burned hotter than pain. Her hatred burned hotter still. When it was done, silence settled heavily in the chamber. Lilibet slid away from him. He pulled her back against him. Vladimir stretched lazily beside her, his chest gleaming with sweat, scratches marking his skin, and his smirk returned. He turned his head toward her, his eyes gleaming and cool. You can act like you didn't enjoy it, but your sounds told me differently. I will say this, Lilibet. You belong to me. Your body belongs to me. Everything that you are belongs to me. And if I ever catch you, or even think that you are with another man, you will cease to no longer exist. Lilibet's silver eyes flicked toward him, burning, but she said nothing. She would not give him the satisfaction of it. Inside, though, her rage called tighter, sharp, deadlier. And as she lay naked in the suffocating dark with his hand on her hip, she swore silently to herself, one day I will make you pay, Ella Snow. Not just you, but my mother and my brother. I will destroy everything that you love. And then she thought to herself, and I will destroy you too, Vladimir. She had made him a promise that if he touched her, what would happen? He didn't take her seriously. The halls of Blackstone Castle were alive again. The endless hush of snow beyond its walls met with the murmur of courtiers in anticipation. The ball had passed, yet its ripples still moved through the room. This night, a suitor had come to press his interest further for one of her hand-picked ladies. The summons had been sent, and Calitza Drathmore was expected to attend. Evangeline, her shadow, was lying on her bed going through all her gowns. Oh, I wonder who it will be. Do you think it will be the one that you danced with at the ball? Or do you think it will be another one? Oh, I do hope it's not the handsome one that I was dancing with. I do like it. Would you shut up? We don't know who the suitor is here for. It's here for you, Lady Calitza. Everyone is saying so. Leave me. Get out of my sight. The throne room was prepared in its usual splendor. Braziers glowed crimson, their flames flickering against carved stone and tall black columns. Banners of the Blackstone crest stirred in the drafts, and the air was perfumed with resin and spiced blood. The courtiers gathered in hushed anticipation, their eyes eager for any flicker of drama. The herald's staff struck the stone. The ladies in waiting were lined up in front of Ella's throne. The herald cleared his throat. Lord Veyron Dolmore, ancient of the eastern marches, patron of vineyards and vaults, has come to call on Lady Calitza Drathmore. A hush descended as the old vampire entered. He reeked of wealth, so wealthy that his fortune carried through centuries untouched, but age had carved itself into his demeanor. He was once probably a very robust man, but now it had given way to rolls. Age had carved itself into him. His hair, once thick, hung like pale smoke around his shoulders. His eyes glimmered a weary amber, and his frame, though upright, carried the subtle stillness and stiffness of one too long bound to ceremony. He leaned on a stab of carved bone, its tip ringing against the stones. Ella sat upon her throne, Ian beside her, regal and silent. She masked her curiosity with composure, though a flicker of amusement danced at her lips. She knew who he was here for. She knew how Calitza had wrinkled inward at this very man during the ball. Now he had come again, daring to stake his claim in the Queen's very hall. My lord, welcome. I understand that you have intentions to court one of my ladies in waiting. I cannot stand the suspense any longer. do tell us who has captured your heart. Calypso watched. She stood with grace, her midnight silk whispering against the stones, her emerald eyes flashing under the crimson light. Though only Seraphina, watching keenly from the shadows, saw the faint tick and tension in her jaw. My lady, my queen, I wish to call upon and announce my intentions to Lady Strathmore. He rasped, bowing low, though his eyes lingered too long upon her form. If you will permit me to say so, your beauty outshone the ball itself. I cannot retire without securing your company again. If you will indulge me, I would ask leave of Her Majesty to court you properly. Evangeline giggled behind her fan. This is so romantic. Shut up. The other ladies in waiting admonished. Calypso's lips curved in the semblance of a smile, but inside, bile rose. She wanted to strike him down where he stood, this decrepit shadow who dared imagine himself worthy of her. She longed for jewels, for a throne, for dominion, not the touch of withered hands and breath that smelled faintly of earth, left too long unturned. Ella leaned forward, her tone ice but polite. Lord Veyron, your loyalty to Blackstone is deeply regarded, and your fortune unmatched. It would honor this court to see one of my chosen ladies aligned with your house. Calypso froze. Was Ella reconsidering it? Was she thinking of another lady? Calypso's nails pressed into her palm. I will honor your request, Lord. You may court Lady Calypso Strathmore with my blessing. Blood began to pour out of Calypso's palm, the faint steam grounding her fury. To disobey openly would be to risk exile. Lilibet's disgrace was still fresh in her mind, but to accept this, to accept him. Oh, the thought of lying in that man's bed, of enduring his touch, and he even mentioned the possibility of a child. No, she could not do it. It set fire to every vein in her body. My queen is most gracious, Calypso answered, bowing her head. I am honored by such attention, but no, there is no but. I feel that the courtship shall commence immediately. The words were silk, but her eyes glittered with venom when they rose to Veyron's. He mistook it for a lure, wetting his old lips, twitching into something like a smile. From the dais, Seraphina narrowed her silver violet eyes. She saw the coil of the snake beneath the gown. She saw the performance. And though Ella remained composed, her owl Mina shifted restlessly upon the perch before the throne, her turquoise eyes never leaving Calypso. Tomorrow, Lord Veyron said, lowering his staff as though it were a pledge, I will call upon you in your chambers to speak of alliance and dowry. With your Majesty's blessings, of course. Ella inclined her head. You have it. Lady Strathmore will be happy to receive you. Won't you, Kalitza? A ripple of whispers swept the hall. Kalitza curtsied deeply, her expression unreadable, save for the perfect mask she wore. But when she rose, the faintest tremor crossed her lips. Rage. Disdain. As the suitor withdrew, she thought only one thing. No, I will never bind myself to that relic. I will find a way. I will twist this to my own design. I will not marry a man old enough to be my great-great-grandfather. And from her perch, Mina's head turned slowly. Once. Then again. Until her glowing turquoise eyes fixed fully upon Kalitza, unblinking. Let's stop there, take a 10-minute intermission, and when I come back, I will read the rest of The Crimson Queen. I'll be right back. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Rebecca Wolf. She better not touch Mina. She is gaining enemies even as she speaks, X. Hello, Frankenstein. So good to have you in the audience. If you are new here, let us know. Hello, Peanut. Right, her new life. Lilibet. Oh, thank you, Heather. So cool to have Heather from Louisiana Spirits in the house tonight. So glad to have you here. Hey, Susie Q. The likes are low. Let's get to 200K before I start this story, please. I can tell Mr. Night Queen is not here tonight. You know me, don't you, Melanie? Hey, Hopi Love Little Butterfly. How are you? Just think, it's Friday, Junior. Tomorrow is Friday, and then the weekend. And tomorrow night is the Will of Fate. Let the Will of Fate decide the stories I tell tomorrow night. Hello, Angie. Hello, Cece. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Kingfisher. Hello over there. Hello, Ruby. Rushing to get those dishes done. I hear you. I do that a lot, like when I'm watching a good movie or something like that. On commercials, I'm in there and I'm just busily trying to get everything done so I can get back in. Three more minutes. Thank you, Beach Nut, for liking the live. Oh, awesome. Halfway on Twisted Trinkets. Have y'all joined my Scary Story page yet? I want to thank all the ones that have. I think we have 55 followers on there now. And that's incredible considering that I just started on Sunday. So thank you all so much. All I would ask is that, you engage with anything that is posted on there to create a buzz. So thank you all so much. One minute. Thank you, Diana. I saw. Thank you so much. It's whispers _in_the_dark. Thank you. Appreciate it. All I will be posting on there is scary stories. And I only follow people that like horror, scary stories, scary movies. It's got to be that. So, TikTok. Oh, really, Peanut? That house. I've got more stories on that to come. I haven't even completely scratched the surface on that house. That house was so haunted. Every house that I have lived in has been haunted. The one that we just moved from, that one was really haunted. I haven't told that story yet. Awesome. And I'll always drop the stories between 10 p.m., 10:30, 11, right in there within that area. So you get a good story before you go to bed. And it will always be broken up into a series. So generally it'll be about 5 parts per story. All right, let's get back in it. Hello, Adam the Saint. How are you? Welcome. Oh, great, Palm. That's a good idea. It's not going to have anything but scary. Just scary. That's it. I've had some other paranormal investigating teams to join today to follow, so I'm excited. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you. The Queen's drawing room glowed with muted firelight. Tapestries of the Blackstone crest, silver-threaded ravens on fields of crimson stirred faintly in the draught that always clung to the ancient stone. A heavy hush filled the chamber. the kind of silence that follows long days of ceremony in politics, when words must be weighed carefully, and every glance might carry the weight of judgment. Ella sat in her carved chair near the hearth, the soft spill of fur-lined velvet pulling around her like a midnight tide. Her fingers traced the rim of a goblet absently, her gaze half on the flames, half on her husband who lingered across from her. Ian leaned back in his chair, though his frame was restless, dark silver eyes flashing with the storm that hadn't yet passed from him. Seraphina stood apart, at the tall window where frost webbed its surface, her figure tall and straight, her hair jet black and gleaming like a living shadow in the flicker of firelight. She seemed carved from stillness itself, her hands folded lightly before her. Her ageless face betrayed nothing. It was Ian who shattered the silence. His voice was rough, low, the kind of tone that clung to the ear long after. Calitza Drathmore does not want Lord Veyron, Ella. You both saw it. The way she forced herself to bow. The stiffness in her every move. She despises him. I'm telling you, that match will not last. Ella's lashes lowered, but she did not turn from the fire. Her voice was calm, laced with ice. Despising a match has never broken one, Ian. If I judged only by fondness, no alliance would ever be made. Lord Veyron's wealth, his standing, his reach through the eastern marches, it's a stabilizing tie. My court must see that the queen binds her ladies wisely, not indulgently. I agree with her, Ian. Ella speaks truth, Seraphina said. Ian's jaw tightened. He leaned forward, elbows braced on his knees. She's poison, Ella. I can feel it every time her eyes flick toward you. Keep her near, and you invite venom to your own throne. At this, Ella finally turned her head, her expression cool, unyielding. Or, I keep her where I can watch her. If an alliance is formed with Lord Veyron, they will live at court. The fire hissed, sparks breaking against the stones. Ian scoffed softly, taking a swallow from his goblet. You've given her a noose. Now do not hesitate to tighten it if she tries to strike. Ella's lips curved faintly, though no warmth touched her eyes. Do you and your mother think me blind, Ian? Mercy was already spent on Lilibet. I will not waste it again. That is my vow. I will strike, and I will strike deep. I've noticed something. Mina, every time that Calitza Drathmore is in my presence, Mina watches her. Ian and Seraphina were quiet. She doesn't trust her. I can see it. She doesn't trust Calitza, Seraphina said. I just wish I knew what it was. And for that matter, I've been wondering. What is it? Speak, Ella. Before I came to Blackstone, did Mina exist? Where did she come from? She looks at me with eyes that have such knowing. Perhaps the gods gave her as a gift to you, darling. I guess. From her place by the window, Seraphina had not moved. Her gaze was fixed on the frost-veined glass, but her mind was not on the snowstorm raging outside. It was on Kalitza. It was on Mina. On secrets too long kept. Ian's words burned like an ember in her chest, and a decision pressed heavy on her heart. Mina had a good reading on Kalitza Drathmore. She would keep her on Kalitza, watching, biding her time. But she decided that she had kept her silence long enough. Soon, very soon, she would tell Ian what she knew of Kalitza Drathmore's past. But not here, not now, not with Ella's bright, searching eyes turned her way. So she said nothing. Ella shifted the subject, her voice sharper now as she set her goblet down. Well, on a brighter note, Evangeline was also called upon today, and I think that that is a good match. What do the two of you think? A flicker of a smile softened Ian's face, the first sight of lightness all evening. She nearly glowed when Lord Ulrich bowed before her. Her girlish delight charmed even the most hardened faces in court, but she's so young. That parry may prove more beneficial than any gold Lord Veyron could bring to the court for Kalitza Drathmore. Seraphina chuckled. The girl's laughter alone could melt half the court. She needs steadiness, though. Ulrich is older, measured. He may anchor her flight, and I know that her father will be pleased with the alliance and the marriage. Ian chuckled. And what of the others? They'll come, Ella said. Seraphina turned at last, and Ella regarded her carefully, sensing the shadow in her tone, but let the thought drift. Instead, she spoke of others. Almost all the ladies who had drawn interest, the murmur of lords weighing alliances, every name, every connection, every possibility of strengthening Blackstone's web of influence was discussed, weighed, and considered in the great room. But always, circling like a dark current, was Kalitza Drathmore. Ian's voice dropped low again. I am going to watch her like a hawk. If she dares to defy you, Ella, I don't care if it's her choosing to wear a different colored gown. She must be dealt with, as Lilibet was. Mercy twice will not look like mercy. It will look like weakness. What are you saying? I'm saying, perhaps. I know this will be hard for you to hear, Mother. Perhaps you should have ended Lilibet. Ella's chin lifted, her crownless authority shimmering in the still air. I am no weak queen. I took into account the fact that she is your sister and Seraphina's daughter, and my sister by marriage. Would you have me to do away with her? I am no weak queen. Let Kalitza play her games. I know her. I can read her. I will watch, and when her mask slips, I will strike. From the shadows by the window, Seraphina bowed her head slightly, the movement small but filled with centuries of weight. Inside, her resolve crystallized. Ella should, as painful as it was to admit, Ella should have ended Lilibet. Because she knew her daughter, and she knew that she would not lie down. She also knew that she had to tell Ian. He had to know the truth of Kalitza before that mask became too dangerous to the throne. The fire roared higher, shadows stretching long across the velvet walls. The three of them stood, queen, consort, and matriarch, bound together by loyalty, divided by silence, and surrounded by the whispers of suitors and servants alike. The heavy oak doors groaned as they opened to admit Lord Veyron Dalmor into Kalitza Drathmor's chambers. She was already waiting, poised in perfection before the hearth, her black silk gown cut to flatter her every curve, her emerald eyes glinting in the crimson firelight. The old vampire shuffled in with the help of his carved bone staff, but his arms were full of all the same gifts. One cradling a chest of polished ebony, the other bearing a velvet-wrapped parcel. Behind him came two trembling attendants carrying still more boxes, their steps cautious under the weight of gold and gems. My lady, Veyron rasped, lowering the chest before her with surprising vigor for one so aged. I could not present myself to you empty-handed. These, my queen, are but a small token of what awaits you, should you become mine. Kalitza's lips parted in a delighted gasp, and she glided forward every inch the demure maiden. She dropped to her knees before her chest, snapping open the clasp as though she could not resist. Really? All for me? Why, Lord Veyron. Inside, light blazed from heaps of jewels, necklaces dripping with rubies, rings studded with diamonds, bracelets so heavy they might bruise the wrist. Oh, my lord! Look at all this! She breathed, lifting one piece after another, pressing them against her throat and wrist, turning this way and that to catch the firelight. How magnificent! How dazzling! Surely no lady in all of Blackstone has ever received such treasures. You are generous and kind, my lord. But behind her mask of wonder, she sneered inwardly. The rubies were large, but poorly cut. The gold thick, but crude. It was wealth, yes, but wealth without taste. Still, she fluttered like a moth to flame, slipping a ring onto her slender finger, draping a necklace across her pale neck. She turned toward him, emerald eyes shining with feigned gratitude. You truly do shame me with such generosity, my lord. Veyron's amber eyes drank in the sight of her. He leaned heavily on his staff as he stepped closer, his breath rough in his chest. You deserve it all, Lady Drathmor. And more still, you were not born to serve as an attendant to another. You were born to be adorned, worshipped, exalted. With me, all of this and more will be yours. He reached out with the veined hand, his fingertips hovering just at the silk of her sleeve, and brushed her skin. Kalitza shifted, smooth, practiced, so that his hand brushed only air. She laughed lightly, the sound like silver bells. My lord flatters me beyond reason, but I am a lady. I have never been approached in such a fashion. He tried again, a leer on his face. His hand grazed her shoulder. She angled her body away, swooping up a bracelet from the chest and fastening it around her wrist with elaborate care. Does it not catch the fire beautiful, Lord Veyron? She asked, lifting it to the light, forcing his gaze upward and away from her skin. Veyron chuckled. though his smile trembled with frustration. You teased me, my lady. Come here. Let me see you. Let me touch you. Let me sample you. You flutter just beyond reach like a beautiful butterfly, and yet every glance, every smile, it ensnares me further. Give me something to dream about until we wed. Calypso leaned forward, her gown pulling, her voice low and honeyed. Is that not a woman's duty, my lord? To enthrall her suitor? To keep him always yearning, always hungry? The courtiers and the ladies who were gathered at the edges of the chamber chuckled softly at Calypso Drathmore's cleverness. Calypso drank in their murmurs, their approval, as though it were the richest wine. Veyron's eyes gleamed, but his tone turned earnest. I want you. I want you in my house. I want you in my bed. I want you at my table. I want to have children with you. He dropped heavily to one knee, setting his staff aside, almost rolling over, and seized her hand before she could slip it away. His cold lips pressed against her knuckles, making her want to vomit. Lady Drathmore, I have lived centuries without want, without longing. You are the first. But since that night of the ball, my every thought has been of you. Accept me. Become my wife. Become my lady. Let me make you the jewel of the house Dalmore, the mistress of all I own. You will never want for anything more. Just a couple nights of pleasure, every now and then, perhaps a son. Gasp rippled from the attendants. Calypso's eyes widened and she blushed, her smile trembling just enough to look touched and flustered. Inside, though, her stomach turned. Your wife. To rot beside you in your drafty hole, she thought, as she looked deeply into his eyes. To suffer your breath on my body? Never. But aloud, her voice was sweet silk. My lord, such devotion humbles me. To be so cherished by one as powerful as you, she drew in a delicate breath. It overwhelms my heart, but, well, there are other lords. He squeezed her hand, his old fingers tight, eager. Oh, I've already talked to them. They have interest in other ladies in the court. So you accept? Calypso shifted her hand in its grasp, spangling the emerald rings so that it glittered beneath the firelight. Her smile deepened, but inside she was filled with rage. She was perfect, unreadable. I will consider, Lord Veyron. My queen has blessed your courtship, and my duty is to weigh it with the gravity it deserves. I cannot give you an answer right now. I must think upon it. Dwell upon it. Your gifts are indeed lovely. Veyron's lips curved into a smile, and then into a sneer, his amber eyes alight with hope, and something else. He rose to his knees. Do not delay long, Lady Drathmore. Desire withers, if not fed. I'm not worried. No one else wants you. I will speak to the Queen. Calypso Drathmore's mouth gaped open at these words. His eyes lingered on her form, traveling the curve of her waist, the slope of her shoulders. She felt his gaze like a crawling weight, but she did not flinch. She simply bowed her head, her emerald eyes glittering as though with gratitude. Just before he departed, he turned. "We all know who you belong to, my lady. But wait, are you still a lady?" "I look forward to our engagement." "Well," Kalitsa thought, "he's not as old and crazy as I thought, and he knows far too much." When at last he departed, the door thudding closed behind him, Kalitsa exhaled in a hiss, ripping the gaudy ring from her finger and flinging it into the fire. "You old fool," she whispered, her smile vanishing into a thin blade of rage. "You think me yours? You think you can threaten me? I will bleed you dry before I marry you." And from the shadows near the rafters, there was a ruffling. She looked up. One of the high windows was open. Kalitsa froze, fury tightening into unease. "Damn that bird," she muttered, shoving the chest of jewels shut with a clang and kicking it with her foot. The owl's head turned slowly above her, impossibly far, listening to every word before disappearing back into shadow. The Queen's gardens lay beneath the eternal night of Blackstone, veiled in their perpetual drift of snow. The crimson moonlight spilled like liquid fire across marble statues and thorn-wrapped hedges, turning every icicle into a dagger of glistening red. The air was sharp with cold, cutting against the skin like glass, carrying the faint metallic scent of frost. The crunch of boots against stone echoed softly in the silence, and torches along the path hissed as the wind licked their flames. Ella walked at the forefront, her pale blonde hair catching the firelight like spun ice. She was regal, even in quiet moments, her velvet cloak trailing over the stones, her every step measured, commanding. Beside her, a pace behind, glided Kalitsa Drathmore. Kalitsa was breathtaking as always, her emerald eyes sharp and glimmering, her dark gown trimmed with sable fur that caught the frost in tiny crystals. The cold stung her cheeks, but her face betrayed nothing of it, only serenity, elegance, the mask of loyalty she wore as if stitched into her very skin. Inside, however, venom coiled, the threat of that man. She loathed this summons. She knew what the summons was. She loathed the way that Ella's very presence demanded attention and obedience. Above them, the snow owl Mina circled silently, her turquoise eyes glowing whenever she cut across the crimson moonlight. She landed once upon the frost-tipped branch of a blackthorn, her feathers ruffling in the wind, and watching with unblinking patience. Kalitsa's skin prickled under the creature's gaze, but she kept her chin high, refusing to let discomfort show. Ella's voice broke the stillness, soft, carrying the unarguable weight of a queen. "Kalitsa, stand beside me." Kalitsa did so. Ella reached into the sleeve of her robe and withdrew a letter. with the blue wax seal. She handed it to her and looked out into the night. Kalitsa, the court moved swiftly. Yes, Your Majesty. Proposals of marriage arrive daily now, from lords eager to bind themselves to my reign. Lady Evangeline has already been called upon by young Lord Elric. An innocent delight of a match, one that pleases all. And then you, Kalitsa, courted by a chosen suitor, an arrangement of promise. She stopped before a frost-crusted statue of a raven, her hands folded before her, her bright eyes turned to Kalitsa, sharp and steady. Now comes another proposal. A letter, penned with certainty and sealed with ancient wax. Lord Veyron of the Silver March declares his desire for you. He asks for your hand. The words struck like ice. Kalitsa's hands trembled at her side, small controlled tremors that she quickly steeled, curling her fingers into fist beneath the folds of her cloak. Her stomach twisted with rage, though her face softened into a mask of humility. My queen honors me, she murmured, bowing her head. Ella studied her carefully, her voice as calm as the snow drifting down around them. I know you don't like it. It is a strong match, Kalitsa. It's not for love. It's for power. It's for alliance. Lord Veyron is wealthy. His fleets run deep with silver and trade. His loyalty to Blackstone is unquestioned. To you, to his house, it would strengthen our hold beyond the realm. Kalitsa's emerald eyes lifted, catching the gleam of torchlight. Your Majesty, I do not protest. But Ella's expression hardened faintly. Do not protest aloud, or do not protest within. The question cut like a blade. Kalitsa's chest rose and fell, her breath ghosting in the frozen air. At last she spoke, her voice edged with emotion, despite her best efforts. My lady, I just ask for a little bit more time. My heart is still with another. The queen's face was unflinching, her words wrapped in frost. Your heart is with one who is gone, Kalitsa, and what is gone cannot shape your future. You must move on, and you need a push in that direction. Lord Veyron will give you the station, the wealth, and the security. You will be well provided for, and more, he will allow you to remain here at court. You will not be banished to some distant keep. You and your soon-to-be husband may serve close to me. Kalitsa's eyes burned, though her lashes lowered to show the fury within. Yes, Your Majesty. Ella's cloak shifted as she turned, a subtle command in the motion. Prepare yourself, Lady Kalitsa. The announcement will be made soon. And you will accept with grace, won't you? Kalitsa bowed her head and sank into a low curtsy. Good. You may go. And congratulations on your upcoming nuptials. The cold stone was biting through the fabric of her gown as she bent before Ella. Her lips murmured words of obedience, but her heart screamed with rage. When she rose, her eyes were embers burning beneath the mask of loyalty she forced into place. As she turned down the path, the crunch of her steps sharp against the silence, her mind seethed. You would chain me to a man that I despise. You would tether my power to another's coffers. You think you can decide my fate, Ella. I will play your game for now, but I will not yield. I will never yield. Perhaps Lord Veyron would serve well. Yes, perhaps he would serve her purposes well. Above, far above, Minet's turquoise eyes glowed brighter from her perch on the blackthorn. The owl's head turned once, then all the way around, an unnatural swivel fixing Kalitza in its gaze. The air grew colder around her, the torchlight flickering, as though disturbed by a presence unseen. Kalitza stiffened, rage momentarily cut by unease. She clenched her jaw, refusing to look back, and swept out into the crimson-stained snow. But inside, beneath her polished grace, her fury promised one truth. Ella would not cage her. The night was still in Blackstone Castle, the endless snow muffling even the howls of the wind. In the great hall of the keep, fires burned low, casting shadows that crawled high up the black stone walls. Ian sat alone in the Queen's solar, his massive frame stretched in a carved chair, one boot braced against the hearth. A goblet of blood rested in his hand, untouched, his eyes fixed on the flames. It was then that there was a light knock. Seraphina stepped inside without announcement, her black gown whispering across the stones. Her face was pale in the crimson glow of the fire, her jet hair gleaming as though dipped in oil. Her eyes, silver-rimmed with violet, were troubled in a way rarely seen. Ian looked up, frowning. Mother, it's late. I don't want to deal with any more issues. Her voice was low and careful. My son, this could not wait until morning. Something in her tone made Ian straighten, setting the goblet aside. He had seen Seraphina angry, cruel, even soft at rare times, but seldom cautious. He gestured toward the chair opposite him. Then speak it. Seraphina did not sit. She moved instead to stand by the fire, placed her hand on the mantle. Her face lit from below, the shadows sharpening her cheekbones into hollows of iron, her hands folded before her, though the grip of her fingers was tight. I have something to tell you. About Kalitza Strathmore, she began. Ian's jaw tightened instantly, his eyes narrowing like storm clouds. He gave a sharp shake of his head. But this was about her tainted past. I already know it. The dalliance, the scandal, her family casting her out. None of that is news to me. And at this point, I don't care. Seraphina's eyes lifted, gleaming in the firelight. No, Ian. It is something more. Something that I should have told you a while back. But I didn't. I didn't feel that it was my place. Spit it out, Mother! It's something that changes everything. Silence pressed between them, thick as the walls around them. Ian rose, his hands curling into fists against the arms of the chair. He was not a man given to patience. Then say it! Seraphina inhaled, steadying herself. Those centuries of memory weighed on her tongue. She looked directly at him, her voice slow, deliberate. Kalitza Strathmore was not just some ruined lady, Ian. She was, for the love of all, if you do not say it, she was your brother's mistress, Ian. Aiden's mistress. The word struck like a blow. Ian's head jerked, his silver eyes flashing dark, violet rimming them in sudden storm. For a long moment he did not speak. The fire hissed, filling the silence, sparks leaping up like frantic insects. You lie. No, I do not. He raised his hand against his mother. How long have you known this? Answer me! Seraphine shook her head once, firm. I saw it with my own eyes. One night, months ago, I went to speak with him. I found him. She was in the hall and he opened the door and drew her into his chamber. And you did not tell me? You did not tell me! She was not merely one of his fleeting indulgences, Ian. She was kept. She wore his gifts. She lived from his hand. He flaunted her when he dared, but she was there the night that Ella was beaten with the whip. She was there the night that Ella beheaded your brother. Rage filled Ian. He pinned his mother against the wall, grasping her jaw with his hand. You should have told me sooner. I know that I should have. He loomed over her, his chest heaving, his fist clenched so tightly the knuckles blanched. You should have told me! Seraphina's gaze did not waver. You would not have listened then? All you had was eyes for Ella at that point? What would you have done? You were blinded by rivalry with your brother that he was going to get Ella before you did. But now you must hear me. And I do not blame you for being mad. I should have told you. She's dangerous, Ian. Not merely ambitious, she's dangerous. She has powers that you do not even know. Her loyalty was to Aiden, not to you, not to Ella, not to Blackstone, to you, but to Aiden. Ian's teeth clenched, the sound of grinding echoing faintly in the chamber. He turned away, pacing the length of the hearth like a caged beast, came back to his mother and raised his hand again. The firelight gleamed off the silver in his eyes, shadowing the violet into something storm dark. So you allowed that serpent next to my wife? So every smile, every curtsy before Ella is nothing but play? A ruse? She plots still? In his memory? Seraphina inclined her head slowly. You can hate me. You can imprison me, whatever you want to do. But it's exactly as you said. She will never see Ella as queen. To her, Ella is the usurper. The woman who stole what Calypso believed that she could have. She thought she could have it all through Aiden. That is the root of her venom. That is why she lingers so close to the throne. She wants to overtake it. She can't do that. I don't know what she can do, Ian. Ian stopped pacing. He stood rigid, his back tight. He turned and looked at her, his hands trembling at his sides. His voice, when it came, was iron. I'll take care of it. Seraphina let out a slow breath, the faintest flicker of relief passing through her features, but also fear. We must be cautious. Must be cautious. She's now forming an alliance with Lord Veyron, and you know how powerful he is. Right now, we keep Ella safe. We watch Calypso for the viper that she is, and if she makes one move against my queen, against my wife, I will turn my wrath on you. I will strike her down myself, and then I will strike you. Mother. The fire flared high as though answering the vow. Shadows whispering across the chamber. Seraphina closed her eyes for a moment as though a burden had finally been loosed. She didn't mind that Ian had threatened her life, though the weight of what might come pressed heavier still. Calitza Drathmore had been unmasked to Ian Blackstone, and now she and Nera were not the only two to watch her. The fire had died low by the time the door closed behind Seraphina. Ian remained where he stood, shoulders squared, fists pressed against the carved stone mantel. The embers hissed and cracked, their glow painting his face in flickering red and shadow. His mother's words were played over and over. And how could he not have seen it? Calypso, Aiden's mistress. He clenched his jaw so tight it ached. If it were only her past, he would dismiss it, but betrayal at that level. It meant Calypso had lived in the heart of his brother's chamber, had shared in his whispers and plans that might have reached far deeper than just a lover's secrets. Ian dragged a hand through his hair, pacing the solar like a caged beast. He thought of Ella, radiant on her throne, commanding in her rulings, vulnerable in the privacy of their bed. He thought of Calypso lingering so close now, how she smiled so smoothly, how carefully she wove herself into every chamber and circle. If Ella knew. But she couldn't know. Not yet. To tell her meant to stir unrest, to show distrust among her court, and Ian would not undermine her rule, not when she was still solidifying her crown. Still, rage twisted his gut. He could feel the phantom weight of his sword at his hip, the memory of how satisfying it would be to drive steel through treachery, and yet he restrained himself for Ella, for the stability of the realm. He leaned forward, bracing his forearms on the mantel, bowing his head. The fire's glow licked across his face, gilding the storm in his silver eyes. His breathing was ragged, but beneath it all, he forced himself still. He would act, but not yet. He could go to Calypso. He could threaten her. He could tell her to leave, but not yet. He would watch her. And the moment she faltered, the moment she revealed her hand, he would strike her down so swiftly not even her emerald eyes would have time to wipe. Seraphina's heels clicked softly against the black stone floors as she left the Queen's solar. The corridors of black stone stretched long and hushed, lined with tapestries that stirred faintly in the drafts of cold air. Her fingers brushed against the stone walls as she walked, her touch light, almost reverent. For centuries she had carried the weight of secrets, locked behind her lips, buried in her heart like a shard of poisoned glass. Tonight, at last, she had pried one of those free. The air in the castle seemed lighter, though it pressed chill against her pale skin, relief warred with dread. Relief that Ian finally knew the truth, and dread for what he might do with it. He had threatened her life. She couldn't blame him. She paused at a tall window, gazing out into the perpetual snowfall. The flakes glowed faintly silver under the torchlight, falling endlessly, blanketing the world outside. It was as though time itself had stopped, frozen in that storm. Her mind drifted. Calypso, with her beauty sharpened like a blade, her smile that never reached her eyes, always circling like vultures, always hungry. Seraphina had known her kind. She had once been undone by betrayal from her best friend, once trusted where she should not have, once lost everything to falsehood and desire. She would not see her son or Ella undone in the same way. She drew her cloak, tied around her shoulders, her footsteps echoing once more as she continued down the corridor. She wondered if Ian would go to Ella with what she had revealed, but yet at the same time she knew that he would not. She wondered if he would strike Calypso openly or bide his time in silence, and if she knew him, and she knew him well because it was her son, he would bide his time. And though she could not predict which path he would choose, she knew this. The game had changed tonight. The Viper had been unmasked, and in Blackstone Castle, secrets never stayed buried long. The wind outside their tent moaned like some ancient spirit caught between the peaks, tugging at the canvas with icy fingers. Within, though, warmth flickered, the low glow of embers burning in a copper brazier, the heavy musk of furs tangled across their palate, and the soft rhythm of two bodies entwined in sleep. Nira stirred first. Her lashes fluttered, her breath hitched, and then she bolted upright, clutching at her chest. Her whole body shook, her skin slick with sweat despite the chill air. A strangled cry caught in her throat. She trembled so violently that the furs slid from her shoulders, burying her pale skin to the firelight. Maelor Vane woke instantly. Centuries of battle had trained him to rouse at the faintest shift, but now it was more than instinct. It was the love that he had for his witch. He rolled to his side, his silver hair spilling over the pillow, eyes sharp with worry. His hand caught her arm, steadying her. She had had violent nightmares for the past 2 nights. What is it? His voice was low, rough with sleep, but urgent. What is it, Nira? What do you see? She shook her head, pressing both hands to her temples as though trying to claw the vision from her mind. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means, Maelor. Her voice cracked, desperate, haunted. Tell me, do you hear the screams? Yes. Yes, I hear the screams. Tell me what you saw. Her lips trembled. Her eyes darted to him. Those storm gray-green eyes that held her like an anchor in a churning sea, and then away, staring at the shadows flickering across the canvas. I hear screaming. Terrible screaming. Her eyes darted to him. Terrible screaming. It tears through me like blades. And... What? What, Nira? He shook her by the shoulders. Someone being ripped apart. The sounds. God, the sounds. Maylor's jaw tightened. A man? A woman? Her throat bobbed. Her voice dropped to a whisper choked with dread. She looked past him into the flames of the fire. Her voice became monotone. A woman. Maylor. It's Ella. It's Ella. She's on an altar. And there's so much blood. The brazier hissed as a coal shifted, spitting sparks as if echoing her words. For a moment, silence swallowed the tent. Only their ragged breasts filled the air. Maylor studied her face, the stark terror in her eyes, the way her body still shook as though the dream had reached out of the ether and gripped her flesh. Then he pulled her into his arms, crushing her trembling frame against the hard wall of his chest. She buried her face in his skin, breathing in the scent of iron, leather, and the faint sweetness that was wholly his. He pressed his lips to her hairline, his hand stroking down her spine in long, grounding motions. You're safe, he murmured, though his own gut twisted with unease. You're here, with me, no altar, no blood. Manera shook him away. She shook her head fiercely, pulling back just enough to look at him, her eyes wide and glassy. You don't understand. I've had dreams before. Dreams that came true. I tried to push them away, but Maylor, this one's too vivid, too real. It felt like I was standing there in the shadows, watching her bleed out before me. Her nails dug into his shoulders, not in passion, but in terror. Maylor's eyes narrowed. He cupped her face in his hands, forcing her to meet his gaze. What do you see? Every sound, every shadow, spared nothing. Her breath came in shudders as she recounted it. There's a stone altar, slick with crimson. Ella's body is chained upon it. Her eyes wide but unyielding. Her lips moving in what might be a prayer or defiance. Figures in dark hoods are circling her, chanting words I can't understand. And then she screams. Above it all is the sound of her scream, my queen's scream, raw, ragged, unrelenting. Maylor listened, his expression carved from stone, but his fingers stroked her jaw, her neck grounding her. When she faltered, he pressed his lips to hers, coaxing the words out of her with soft kisses, as if his mouth could draw the poison free. Whatever you saw is not real. It won't happen. You don't know that, Maylor. You do not know that. He kissed her again, slow, desperate, full of hunger of a man terrified of losing even the smallest piece of her. He slid his hands across her, soothing and claiming all at once, as though passion itself could banish the nightmares that his witch had. For a time, it did. The shadows outside still howled, the snow still fell endlessly upon Blackstone Realm, but inside their tent, pressed against Maylor's body, Nera stared into the darkness. The echo of Ella's scream refused to fade, and the altar, drenched in her blood, burned behind her closed eyes. And that is the end of the Crimson Queen reading for tonight. Hello, Suppression Squad. I'm so glad that y'all are enjoying it. Good night, Ray Ray. You're most welcome, Alicia. Good night, Amber. My brain. I actually wrote quite a bit of it while I was on the live tonight, too. You're welcome, Peanut. Thank you, Joanne. I am Suppression. I am. Good night, X. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Rhonda. So glad you all enjoyed it. I seek to bring you the best stories night after night. I'm glad you liked it, Nikki. Good night, good night, good night, everyone. You are most welcome. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern is... Thank you, Rhonda. I will take that as a compliment. Oh, thank you, Amy, for the galaxy. Thank you so, so much. Oh, thank you, Suppression Squad. Thank you. Tomorrow night, The Wheel of Fate. I totally get it, Rebecca. You do what you must do. Children are always first. Good night, Susie Q. Sweetest dreams. You are welcome, Shirley. Thank you all for joining me over in YouTube. I don't know who was over there, but thank you. That's so kind of you, Suppression. All right, everyone. We've got one more day. Everything work good over there, Miss Kimmy? Awesome. So glad to hear it. All right, everyone. I want everyone to have the most pleasant of dreams, And tomorrow night, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, I will be back. Love you all. Nighty night.